So we had our amazing leap onto the train, and now just gotta make sure we don't die. I do quite like this quick time event, it's just quite cool. And of course it has to blow up. So basically, to get into the base, we've got to cross over this train wreck.
Amanda's already inside, and the door's sealed.
So now what?
There's a vent on the wall to the right of the cargo door.
Yes, so
The
we just
fan
need to get
drive
over.
has power on.
How will you get in?
One way or another.
But we'll manage quite easily, I think. It's hardly that difficult. Lara? Seriously, not that hard. You just kind of aim for the rope and grab it. There are some slight platforming issues in Tomb Raider Legend. Not as many as you could probably expect from certain other games, but the possibility is still there. Thankfully, that's kind of the worst of it for this room. The rest of the trip around is actually quite nice, if I recall correctly anyway. Now, I'll point out that this mission right here is pretty much the longest in the game, by far. It's basically because you have got quite a lot kind of happening as you go through, because you have the base, well, you have the general army base bit, and then you have this particular room, and then you have the laboratory basey thing itself, and there are quite a lot of puzzles in there. Now make sure you climb up, because otherwise Lara is going to burn, and I don't think she'd quite want that, do you? Now there are a lot of shooting fans down in this particular mission, so get used to using your Y button. And even though it looks like you may not be able to make that jump, you can. Ah, look at Lara checking her boots. Yeah, basically, I was just being very hesitant, because I was just like, I don't want to fall, I can't see how I get in, damn it. But you're fine.
It's getting colder.
No shit, Sherlock. There are also quite a lot of these slidey ramps that you're going to have to deal with, so do get used to this sort of stuff. Oh, of course.
He's been trying to get out since the 50s. He was frozen to death, the poor fellow. It's hardly a proper end for a scientist.
Indeed. Now, you're going to want to pick up the note that he's got, because it's giving you the information that you need to find out what actually happened here. You pretty much, I think, can just go through the entire thing without reading them, but it's very interesting when you do. I believe that's why in the reboot there was so many articles by members of the crew and also people who lived on the island, just because it's interesting to it's interesting to read backstory of characters that existed in the world before you got there. Although I will point out that that should never, ever, ever come at the detriment of actual gameplay and a game and a proper story that's happening then and there.
It is much colder in here than it was outside.
It's the reason why I see Gone Home and I'm just like, not a fan of the idea of that. Because backstory is all well and good when you've got a kind of main story to support it. When something's just backstory, you don't really gain anything from it. It just kind of, it's there and you're just kind of, you've got nothing to do, really. And you don't personally feel like you're affecting the narrative. Whereas in games like Tomb Raider and even Mario, where there isn't really a true proper story, because you are playing the game, you actually feel like you are pushing the story forward. You are the driving force behind it. If you didn't play, it wouldn't happen. Whereas in something like Gone Home, it's already happened and you don't have any power over that. Still annoys me how much critical acclaim that game's got. I should probably play it at some point to say, I have played it, and I didn't like it, rather than just being just like, I don't like the idea of it. Either way. Now, while you may think that the mission that's going to come after this one, which is near the end, you'd think that kind of that one would do more puzzly stuff than this one, and actually no, this has got the most puzzles, I believe, of any of the missions, which is really bizarre. I'm not quite sure why that's the case, because there are two other big-ish stages to go through, and then one kind of final boss. Well, it is the final boss chapter, but this is the longest of the last kind of 3 normal stages. I have no idea why.
It sounds as if it's out of fuel.
So it looks like we're going to have to get some fuel into it. I think we can do that just fine. Now, all of the signs about are written in Russian, so if you can read Russian, then these signs are going to make sense to you. Because they definitely don't make sense to me. Although I'm assuming they are your general, be careful, hazards, death awaits or something. Maybe not quite death awaits, but still something along the lines of electricity and hazard and so on and so forth. But that's kicked the power on, so I think we should be able to progress quite nicely. And it all lights up. Oh, that's lovely. And there's death spewing gas. Lovely. It's green. It probably is toxic.
I'd rather not find out firsthand.
Neither would I. Now, if you kind of mess up, this is quite easy. Well, particularly with what we're about to reach right now. Electrified poles. If you get hit by that, it's going to hurt, and particularly if you clamber a little bit further down and kind of drop off, you're going to be in the gas, and that's going to be painful / fatal. Depends whereabouts you fall, really. However, this isn't the most annoying of rooms like this. There's one, I believe, toward the end of this particular part, which is very, very nasty. in terms of what it asks you to do. It's Amanda.
Damn it, Lara, I'm busy.
I see you've changed your look.
Indeed.
That was you in Bolivia then, with Rutland.
I've been all over, and I'm going to places you can't conceive of. You're the one being left behind this time. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Amanda. If I'd known that you were alive, I swear I would have done everything I could to save you.
Please. I got over that a long time ago.
Evidently
It
not.
used to bug me, though. When I got out and saw that you left without even trying to... What is it archaeologists do? Oh, right. Dig.
We'd thought of it as a memorial.
Whatever. Don't let her follow me.
I have to say, I'm intrigued if Amanda's going to do any of this platforming business. She didn't seem quite successful at it in Peru, so either way. Now, sometimes one of the guards is on that platform there. The rest of the time, he is falling down here, so you have 3 of them to deal with. You can just kind of drop a grenade down or what have you, if you want to give yourself a slightly easier ride, but they're not too rough. And here we have the introduction of kind of riot, gut shield, police, guard people, and doing the whole
I thought you said it wasn't running.
That's just ambient discharge.
slide moves is an excellent way of
And if I were the energy...
beating them up and getting by their defense. So now we need to climb. And I really, really hate this climb. It's basically because you've got to time a particular moment of it perfectly to be able to get up without dying. Because one shot from that will kill you. And basically it's these 3, I believe, poles here that are the problem. Because you have 2 electrical currents going through, and you've got to make it across to that platform. And they don't, well, it'd make it too easy if they went in sync. But you've got to be very, very, very quick to make it across, because that is basically your window.
Scientist. No warmth for him up here either. They funneled Tesla energy into the artifact, and there was an enormous discharge of some sort. The KGB shut down the operation, removed the core, sealed off the lab in sections, and left behind those scientists who weren't forcibly removed.
How odd. Now this artifact in here, the only way that you're going to get it is by making use of that fuel barrel, and there is a very hidden hole in the side of the cage that you can manipulate to get in there. And here we go, we're about to enter the horror room, although it's not quite a horror yet.
Not without the core. Looks like it's not here. I guess that's what those tracks in the floor are for.
Indeed, let's run through. This is the corridor.
Sockets.
Decoupled high current cables. You're lucky they're off, or you'd be standing in the middle of a painful light parade.
You can probably guess what is going to happen at some point very soon. We're going to get a wonderful experience of that painful light parade.
There's a cord up ahead.
There's also a bunch of guards which we need to obliterate. Now, I have to say that was a very, very dangerous position for me to be in. Being close to that barrel at the same time as they were shooting at me, and it was that could have been fatal. Thankfully, my skills proved too much for them. It's evident, all me, of course. Now, this room is slightly annoying, if only because it's not immediately clear what you are supposed to do with it all.
There's heavy debris on the tracks. I don't see how I can move it.
It doesn't matter if the core doesn't have power. Get it charged, and then we can deal with that.
However, once you've got it to that position there, you can jump to the ladder, which is what I was attempting to do, and failing miserably because I was too far away. As you can see.
Hello, Lara.
Oh, God's sake.
How'd you get on this channel?
Hush, Sip. She must have taken a headset while she was rearranging your office.
You're so smart, Lara. Do you know why the Soviets called their project Carbonek?
It's
No.
the castle where Lancelot sought the Holy Grail.
Oh,
Not
perfect.
the Arthurian myth I've come across.
Myth, she calls it. A limited word for a limited perspective. You are always such the scientist. You're probably right at home with all these Tesla contraptions, aren't you?
As much as anyone, I suppose.
The Russians activated a power in the artifact that literal minds can't handle, and it destroyed them. So don't push the wrong buttons.
You'd better not either.
But I know which ones are the right ones.
You've learned a little Russian since I last saw you, Amanda.
She hung up. What the hell was that about?
She's having difficulty obtaining the sword fragment.
Evidently.
She doesn't want to blow everything up in the process.
Maybe you should have told her what she wanted to know.
Another unlucky scientist. He writes that at least a dozen of his colleagues were killed in the experiment. The artifact converted the Tesla voltage into something else, a wave of concussive force of some kind.
How very, very interesting. It's pretty much what they were using,
They
what
refused to
Rutland and
repeat the
Takamoto were using
experiment,
on
and
us.
the KGB
And really, I shouldn't have turned the Tesla contraption on during the middle of that conversation, because it was quite interesting, but,
I don't know what's wrong.
How am I supposed to move it if I can't touch it?
The cable on your grapple is insulated.
yes, so helpful. So what you need to do is pull it along with your grapple, and it's going to do that. So, quite dramatic. And now I bet you can see why that corridor is going to be particularly interesting. Indeed it is. And
I prefer dawn.
I have to say I prefer doorknobs too, because this makes this corridor hell.
What's happened here?
The core must have powered these cables somehow.
Yep.
Those are the wall of the most convenient conductors around.
So what you need to do is swing the couplings and run at the correct time, because that's a brilliant design choice, especially when it's pretty much instant death awaiting you. And it gets worse, because now you've got to deal with 4 of these things. You only have to really swing. Actually, no. You have to. Well, you have to deal with 2 at once, but you've got to get them in time so that you actually have time to get through. It's just I really dislike this room. There's too much timing involved. But there we go, we're out.
Now all you have to do is get the panel out of the way, and we're in business.
Excellent. Because it will pretty much move on its own accord, so we're good. Nice simile there, Zip. Very nice. So now you can use one of the boxes to get through the door, but you just roll. It's easy enough.